My name is Emma. I trusted someone when I was at my weakest. I thought love saved me, but it took everything from me. I was 24 then. I worked in an office and lived a quiet life. Today, I speak calmly, but I feel far away from who I was. I sit still when I tell this story. My voice is soft. My hands do not move much. I am not angry anymore. I am just honest. At that time, I felt tired all the time. I felt small. I thought I was strong, but I was not. I remember thinking that I only needed one person to stay, just one. I wanted to believe someone cared. I wanted to believe I was safe. I did not see the signs. I did not ask enough questions. I remember how easy it felt to trust. I remember how quiet everything became after that. Some promises sounded warm. Some words felt kind. But they were not true. This is not a story about love. It is a story about what happens when trust is given too fast, and how one choice can change a whole life. I lived with my grandfather in a small, quiet house. I worked as an office employee in the city. Every morning, I woke up early and left the house while it was still dark. Every evening, I came back to the same place. My life was simple and slow. I remember thinking that this routine would last forever. I felt safe living that way. Before my grandfather passed away, someone always waited for me at home. We ate dinner together, even if we did not talk much. Sometimes the food got cold, but I did not mind. After he passed away, the house felt different. I came home, and no one was there. The lights stayed off. I ate alone at the table. I sat in his chair sometimes, but no one spoke. I remember feeling the silence press against my chest. After that, my days felt empty. I still went to work, but I moved more slowly. I often felt tired, even in the morning. One evening, someone spoke to me outside my office. His name was Mark. He looked at me and asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine." He looked closer and said, "You don't look fine." I paused and answered, "I just feel tired." I remember thinking it was kind of him to ask. Mark started to walk with me sometimes. He listened more than he talked. He asked simple questions and waited for my answers. When I stayed quiet, he did not push. I remember feeling seen again. One night he said, "You don't have to be alone anymore." Another time he said, "I will take care of you." I remember wanting to believe those words. I thought they sounded warm and safe. Looking back, I see how much I needed comfort then. I remember trusting him because I felt weak. I did not question his promises. I did not stop to think. I only knew that the house was empty, and his voice filled the space. After the wedding, things changed in small ways. His family started to watch me more closely. They asked many questions, but their voices stayed calm. They asked about my work, my plans, and then about the land my grandfather left me. I remember sitting quietly and listening. I told myself it was normal. We were family now. Still, I noticed his mother checked the papers often. She took them out, looked at them, and put them back. Mark reminded me to bring those papers whenever there was a family meeting. I remember thinking it was strange, but I said nothing. At the same time, they spoke kindly to me. They smiled more. They said things that sounded warm. "We are family now. This land is for our future. Trust us." I remember wanting to believe every word. One night, we had dinner together. The table was full. No one rushed. His mother put food on my plate. Her hand moved slowly. Mark looked at me and smiled. He said, "You did well today." I remember chewing slowly. I heard the sound of forks. The room felt quiet, but safe. For a moment, I thought maybe I was wrong about my doubts. Those moments stayed with me. They did not shout. They did not push. They waited. I remember watching their faces during meals. I watched hands pass dishes. I watched eyes meet and look away. No one spoke about the land directly that night. The silence felt gentle. I told myself this was what family looked like. I remember thinking, maybe they are not that bad. Maybe I can trust them. Then one afternoon, everything moved faster. We sat at the table again, but this time papers were there. Mark slid one toward me. His mother sat close. I looked down and asked, "What is this paper?" Mark said, "It's just a form." His mother added, "It's for the family." I held the paper. My fingers felt stiff. I asked, "Do I need to read it?" Mark answered quickly, "There is no time." I remember the room felt smaller then. I looked at the page. The words blurred. My hand stopped for 1 second. I could hear my own breathing. No one spoke. Then I signed. The pen felt heavy. I put it down and pushed the paper back. No one smiled. No one thanked me. The moment passed like it was nothing. I remember thinking it was done. I did not ask more questions. After that, the days became quiet again. I went back to small habits. Every evening, I made tea. I sat in the same chair. No one talked much. The cups cooled on the table. I told myself this was normal married life. I remember repeating that thought many times. At night, the house felt still. I listened to the clock. I did not know why my chest felt tight. One night, as I washed the cup, a thought crossed my mind. I did not know what I had signed. I stood there for a moment. The water kept running. Everyone else in the house seemed very calm. A few days later, a letter arrived at the house. It was plain and thin. I remember holding it in my hands and staring at my name. It was from a lawyer. I did not understand why a lawyer would contact me. I opened the envelope slowly. My fingers felt stiff. The paper inside looked official. I remember thinking it was probably a mistake. I read the first lines, then the next. The words felt heavy. My eyes moved, but my mind lagged behind. The document talked about land. It talked about ownership. I remember my hand started to shake. The paper moved with it. I read the same line again and again. My name was there, but it was not the owner's name anymore. I sat down. The chair felt cold. My heart beat fast, but the room stayed quiet. I held the paper with both hands. My fingers trembled. My eyes opened wider, like I missed something important. The document said the land was transferred. It said the signature was mine. I remember swallowing hard. My mouth felt dry. I went back to that moment at the table. The pen, the paper, the silence. I saw it again in my head. I remembered my hand stopping for 1 second. I remembered signing. My chest felt tight. I did not cry. I did not move. I just stared at the words. I asked myself one question, again and again. Why would my husband do this? The next day, they asked me to sit down. The room felt smaller than before. The table was clean, too clean. No one looked at me at first. I remember my hands rested on my knees. They stayed there, very still. My husband spoke, then stopped. Silence filled the space between us. They talked about papers, about signatures, about ending things. I listened, but the words came slowly. I stared at the edge of the table. The wood had small marks on it. I thought about the past. I thought about the promises. My chest felt tight, but I did not speak. The divorce papers lay in front of me. No one pushed them closer. No one had to. I reached out on my own. My fingers touched the paper. It felt thin. I signed. The pen made a soft sound. That sound stayed with me. I remember thinking how quiet everything was. After that, they stood up. One by one, the door opened. Cold air came in. My mother-in-law looked at me then. Her voice was flat. She said, "You have nothing now." The words landed and stayed there. No one waited for my answer. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak, but they held me. I looked around the room. The walls, the chairs, the space that was once mine. I picked up my bag. It was lighter than before. I walked to the door. No one followed me. Outside, I stopped for a moment. I did not cry. I did not shout. I just stood there. The door closed behind me. I took one breath, then another, and I walked away. That day, everything moved without sound. I signed what they placed in front of me. I left the room. I closed the door. I walked down the steps. I did not ask questions. I did not look back. My head stayed low, and my breath felt thin, like air in fog. Outside, I held my bag with both hands. My fingers shook, then stopped. I nodded once when someone spoke, but I did not hear the words. Cars passed. A door closed somewhere. I stood still for a moment. Then I walked away. I remember the ground under my shoes. I remember the cold on my skin. Nothing else stayed clear. Days passed like that. I followed simple steps. Wake up, move, do what was needed. I did not search for answers. I did not try to understand. My mind felt quiet and empty. The truth was there for others to see, but not for me. I only knew how to survive the next hour. Years later, everything changed without noise. I was no longer standing at the door. I was the one choosing who could see me. I sat at a clean table. The chair felt steady under me. They stood across the room and waited. No one rushed me. Mark spoke first. "We didn't know this would hurt you." I listened. My voice stayed calm. "It's okay," I said. His mother added, "You will understand later." I did not answer that. I checked my notes. I set a time for another meeting. I ended the talk. I stayed seated when they left. My hands rested on the table, steady. There was no anger in me, no pride, only control. The place had changed. So had I. After I left, life did not fall apart loudly. It became quiet. Too quiet. I did not feel alive. I only existed. I woke up each morning because my body moved, not because I wanted to. I did not think about the future. I only thought about how to pass the day, 1 hour, then the next. My days started to look the same. I walked the same streets. I sat at the same desk. I spoke only when needed. At work, I nodded more than I talked. My head felt heavy, but my face stayed still. When people asked questions, I answered with short words. Then I went back to my screen. In the evenings, I followed one small habit. Every night, I ate the same cheap meal. Nothing special. I sat on the same chair. I faced the same empty space. I did not turn on the TV. I did not play music. I just sat there. My hands rested on my legs. My eyes stayed open. Time passed slowly. At work, someone noticed. One day, a colleague stopped near my desk. "Are you okay?" he asked. I looked up and nodded. "I'm fine." He paused. "You look tired," I answered. "Just busy." That was all. I did not explain. I did not ask for help. The words came out by habit. My body kept moving, even when my mind felt far away. I worked slower, but I did not stop. When someone spoke, I nodded, even if I did not hear everything. When I got home, I sat down right away. I did not change clothes. I did not lie down. I just sat. Each day felt like the last one. No big pain, no big hope. Just quiet. Just survival. I was still breathing. That was enough for that time. After a long time, something small began to change, not in my heart, but in my routine. I went back to work from the bottom. No title, no comfort, just a desk and a clock. I arrived earlier than others. I sat down before the lights came on. I told myself I would just do the work in front of me. I took tasks no one wanted. I answered emails others ignored. I cleaned files. I checked numbers again and again. When I made mistakes, I wrote them down. I did not complain. I did not explain my past. I only focused on time and discipline. Day after day, I repeated the same actions. One morning, a manager walked by my desk. He stopped and looked at my screen. He did not say much. Later that day, he asked me to handle a small task. It was not important, but it was mine. I nodded and said, yes. My hands moved faster than before. I finished it on time. At work, small things started to happen. A colleague leaned over and asked, "Can you help with this?" I answered, "Yes, I can try." We worked in silence. When it was done, she said, "Thank you." It was a simple sentence, but I heard it clearly. I went back to my desk and kept working. After some time, people started to say my name, not loudly, just in meetings, just once. I noticed it. I did not smile. I only wrote notes and listened. I stayed calm. I stayed focused. Inside, I told myself to keep going. One day, during a meeting, I heard a familiar topic. Someone said, "They are asking for help." I looked up and asked, "From who?" The room stayed quiet for a moment. No one answered yet. I went back to my notes. I was not strong, but I was standing again. Looking back now, I understand one simple truth. Love built on greed will collapse, and only those who survive the collapse can rebuild their lives. I did not learn this from books. I learned it by losing everything I trusted. When love asks for proof through sacrifice, it is not love. When care depends on what you own, it will disappear when you have nothing. I once believed love could save me. I thought being patient was enough. I thought staying silent was strength. But real love does not take advantage of weakness. It does not hide behind promises. It does not ask you to give up your dignity. Collapse is not the end. It is a test. When everything falls, what remains is who you are. If you survive that moment quietly and honestly, you can rebuild, not the same life, a stronger one. A life that no longer depends on false love. When you are at your weakest, you may trust the wrong person. It happens quietly. You feel tired. You feel alone. Someone listens, and you feel seen. In moments like this, you may miss small signs. You may believe kind words without looking at actions. Sometimes, trust grows too fast. When that happens, boundaries become unclear. You may give more than you are ready to give. You may stay silent to keep peace. Over time, you have learned that silence does not protect you. It only hides the truth. You have probably experienced moments when care feels conditional, when help comes with a price, when love asks you to give up yourself. These moments teach you something important. Trust needs time. It needs consistency. It needs respect. Now you know this. When you protect your boundaries, you protect your future. You do not need to close your heart. You only need to open your eyes. Sometimes walking away is not weakness. It is clarity. Before this story ends, take a moment to ask yourself something. If you were in this place, what would you choose? If you believe walking away was the right choice, you can comment yes. If you believe forgiveness is better, you can comment no. Your thoughts matter here. Many people read them, and your voice can help others feel less alone. If this story made you think or feel something, you can like the video to support the channel. And if you want to hear more stories like this, you can subscribe and stay here.